everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Ari and Sid Show. My name is Ari.
And I'm Sid. We're forever friends, and this is the shit we care about.
We have times where we talk about some meaningful shit, sometimes some not so meaningful shit. If you're a returning listener, subscriber, you've heard it all before. But this is our show to bring our shit to you and talk about it, raise some awareness, and spend some time with each other outside of our text threads.
Of course. So, as always, if you like the shit that you hear, you got some questions or some comments or even a concern, drop us a comment, leave us a review, like, subscribe, do all that.
Yes. And if whatever platform you are listening on, just know that this is available on pretty much any other platform as well. So you are not in a box here. The Ari and Sid Show is available at a store near you. No, I'm just kidding. I just felt natural to say, but Apple Music, Amazon, you name it, we got it. Anyways, today's episode topic is practicing gratitude. Let's get into it.
Mm-hmm. I love that. So practicing gratitude. I think this is like super timely because, of course, it's November. Also, I think outside of like holidays, maybe it is because of the holidays, but I feel like once it gets colder outside, people start to care about each other a little bit more.
Yeah.
So we start talking about like, oh, we should appreciate. So definitely want to talk about like, what does gratitude really mean? And like for you, like how are you practicing that, or how are you able to express your gratitude, I guess, in this wonderful world we live in? So
yeah,
there's 100 of different things that you can do, right? Like, and of course, I think even so, we can say that like there might be a few different definitions of gratitude depending on like how, if people want to add like action to it. Some people I think feel as gratitude has to be like an act of something that you can produce, but I think sometimes it can really be like a state of mind as well. To start us off, I want to know, Ari, first of all, that's weird. Can I like secret? If you've been listening to the Ari and Sid Show, of course, those are our names. But like, I do not call Ariana Ari. It's cute, I love it, but that's not what that's out for me. So it's weird. But Ari, what are ways that you like to practice, or ways that you have been able to sort of practice gratitude in your life?
There's a lot in that whole sentence you just said. First of all, it is always weird when you say it because you refer to me as a nickname that I've had forever, which is Anna. And that's okay too. My friends, being my friend, you have the privilege of calling me whatever you see fit as long as it's not stupid, right? I love that phrase. But anyways, so how do I practice gratitude? Let's see. First of all, gratitude to me is a thought of like, or not even a thought. It's like either a thought internally or it's me sharing verbally how I feel about something, And I also want to say that this also probably ties back to love languages, because a lot of times appreciation is shown dependent on which one, even like, you don't even have to have one love language your entire life, right? Whatever you see fit in that moment, your love language, how you're going to show appreciation and gratitude will reflect that, right? So a lot of times for me, I show gratitude in saying things out loud, writing cute notes, that kind of way. It's not really tangible, but I also will take time to try to take time to reflect on things. If I'm stressing about something that's very much so circumstantial and in this moment, I try to take time to be like, whoa, do you remember back when you couldn't even afford this? Now you're stressing over it because it's a luxury and you can't have it right now. So
that's real.
What about you? You know, I'm in a groove today. I'm feeling very deep. So
Yeah.
how do you show your gratitude and appreciation for people?
I think for me, with like practicing gratitude at this point right now, it's like some internal work. It's like how you mentioned, like, dang, like this used to be something you know, were like didn't have access to, but now you have access to it and it's a luxury, but it might not be still what you want, right? Like you're complaining about it in a different sense, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of the times, like I will like take time to like be in the moment and like recognize like what I have, right? Like internally. Like, so for me, I've been learning. I'm really not good at it, y'all, but I want to be really good at it. Learning how to meditate and like be in the now and like focus on like really what's happening. I spent a lot of time recently like praying, like talking to like ancestors. That's like super deep for me. I had like, oh my God, I like basically got to like connect with my great grandmother recently. And that was like, it came out of nowhere. And it also just was like really timely and I needed that. But like those moments, right? And like also trying to get better at journaling, whatever that looks like for me. But like meditation and just kind of like being in the space right now and focusing on that space like that you're in the moment, like you said, like you've gotten here and now you should like be proud of that and reflect on how like back 2-3 months ago you didn't really have that and you can be proud of like that growth. I don't even know if that makes sense.
No, that does. I think growth it's so beautiful because growth is dependent. I said this other day, I tweeted this. Your growth is not measured on anyone else's scale. So, however you define your growth, it could be an inch, it could be a mile. It does not matter because it's all up to you. And so, I think, say in that same sense, like showing yourself through gratitude how much you've grown by reflecting and praying and all those sorts of things is amazing. I love it. I think it's one of those things that I'll never probably get old or tired of, you know, like looking back at all the things, not even just bad things, right? It's just like everything, the things that the relationship that I used to want and the friends I used to desire and the things I used to want to have, you know, all of those in the moment things that seem to be like they're really, really small if you think about life in general, right? But I think that it allows you to really measure it in your growth and determine by looking back and reflecting and showing yourself and your ancestors and whoever else you believe in gratitude.
I like a favorite or something that comes to mind when I think about gratitude too is like really focusing in on the little things that have to happen to make these big things possible, right? Like I was sharing with my parents, like it's a trip for me. I'm a parent now myself, right? And it's wild for me to sit in my daughter's room. She has a really cute room, you know what I'm saying? And she's a year and a half, and it's amazing, and it feels great that me and her dad as her parents were able to give her this, but like we don't take lightly that like this would never have been possible had our parents not done what they did for the both of us and our siblings, right? Like we have completely different growing up, and there are things that were done differently in our two households and also the same. And because of those things that happened, because of those situations and those experiences, we together have grown to provide, to be able to provide and want to provide what we're doing for her now. And it's like, dang, like we couldn't have done that without her grandparents, her aunts, her uncles, her godparents, like all of everything that, every little thing that happens, you know, impacts us. Therefore, it impacts what we're able to do for her. And so like every time we're like doing specifically really for her, I'm like, damn, like so much had to happen. So much had to happen to get here. And like, thank you for that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, thank you to the people who did stuff before she was even born to allow this for her to live the life that she's living. So really focusing on like those little things, like, yo, like we all woke up today. Like,
true.
Thank you. You know what I'm saying? Like, And even like in our birth experience, you know, like being 37 weeks, being diagnosed with severe preeclampsia, you know, having a C-section, and walking out of the hospital 4 or 5 days later with my child. Like, it's not feet, you know? So I think gratitude is really like honing in and paying attention to the small things that you're able to do in life, and how those little things bit by bit create this bigger experience for you.
So what's the not smallest as in like size, what is the smallest thing that you have found yourself being like grateful for?
Dang. Smallest thing that I found myself being grateful for.
Because you mentioned waking up, which for some people that isn't small, right? That's like a task, you know, getting up and moving and all that. But like you saying that made me want to ask you, like, what's something that you've seen yourself like be grateful for that was in the past, not even in the past, just something that was like, I'll give you my example. I find myself in a lot of moments being just so thankful for peace of mind. And I think that it took me a long time to just be okay in my like own body, okay in my situation, okay in my like life in general, in my career or whatever, you know. I still have struggles along the way, right? It's not always a day where I'm like waking up like, oh my gosh, I'm just so glad like I don't have to think about that anymore, you know? And so I find myself even more recently, like something during the pandemic, like I've kind of struggled with peace of mind, not because I'm like on edge thinking that I'm going to lose my job or anything, because I'm thankful that I did not lose my job or haven't yet, but peace of mind in a sense of like, I'm a planner, but I'm not really a planner, if that makes sense. Like I plan big things, right? So traveling and planning my vacation time and those kind of things. And they seem to have like become obsolete during this time. And so the days where I can find like peace of mind and being like, okay, my mind does not have to be racing about all these things right now.
Yeah.
In those moments, I'm like, thank God. Because I'm just like, there are so many people who don't have what I have, or people who have a ton and think that they want more, or there's so many people trying to, you know, feel comfortable. And so in the moments that I do feel that, and like, I guess in a sense of feeling whole in a time where like, not to be cliche, but where the world is falling apart, it's just something that nobody else would know, nobody else could see. But that's like the smallest thing that I found myself more and more being thankful for, because there's a lot of times in my life where I was on the fucking edge of a mental breakdown. So that's my example for you, if that helps. Or you don't have to answer it, you know, no pressure.
I like that a lot. And I would agree. Like, that's definitely something that like, if you have it, like that's a blessing, because that's not every day for some folks. You know what I'm saying? Like every day is like hustle bustle, like million things in somebody's head from the moment they wake up to the moment they go to sleep. That is somebody's reality, right? I think something for me that, of course, like you said, like isn't small, but sometimes we might take for granted or make seem small, is like time. Like just in like being in quarantine, you know, like it's been since March and things like that, not having to commute and like being able to like redistribute my time has been like mind-blowing, right? And like especially at this point where like I am solely working for myself, so like I'm also having to discipline myself in terms of time and like figure out like what my work schedule is in comparison to what it used to be when I was working for somebody. And so that leads you to thinking about like your self-worth and like, am I productive and things like that. But like time is just going to be time.
Yeah.
And like also for being someone who was born in Arizona and now lives on the East Coast where like there's this thing called daylight savings time. Time really like I really had to sit back and be like, this is like not real, but like I'm still like it's still real because we're still here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, again, being grateful for just having this moment and like focusing on like the fact that like the clock is still ticking and seconds are still running, right? But like I'm able to do with my time things differently and like just being grateful and appreciative of like every second. Like, wow, like every night I lay down and like, dang, like I got to spend another whole day with my kid. Like, you know, and like for some people it's not, at one point it wasn't like that for me. So just being really grateful about time has been like key for me lately.
Yeah. Time is something that is just, you know, you look back, going back to like looking back at things and realizing how much time has been in between certain points in your life. And it's mind-blowing how a year ago felt like today was gonna take forever. You know what I mean? Like 6 months ago, I was thinking that, we'll be back to normalcy, quote unquote, yeah. And it's just, it feels like time is gonna take forever. And then you get there, and that shit was like, wow, I blinked. I shouldn't have blinked. Let me just stare and never sleep. And so I can watch every single tick in the clock and do everything every second of every day.
Because sometimes it'd be like, dang, we already got here. But I was just getting ready to get ready for the journey. You know what I'm saying? So like now instead of being like, all right, we got a year till this happens and like, we'll see what's going to happen. It's like, dang, like I'm living every day. And at some point that thing's going to happen. Like kind of like no longer holding your breath for things to happen, right? No longer like waiting for that. Oh, can't wait to this. Like I can't, that's going to be really great when that happens. But I'm also really loving everything and taking advantage and being appreciative of everything that's happening until then.
Yeah. Do you find yourself feeling like you're not, I'm saying this, but not to sound so negative, but feeling like you're not being grateful for something or forgetting to be grateful for something that maybe you don't have anymore, or it seems a little bit more challenging, or somewhere along those lines?
Yeah, I mean, I think the big one for me, of course, is like family, right? Like for the last 5 or so years, I've been on the other side of the country from like my biological family, right? Of course, that's like a decision I made. I understand that decision. I'm going to live with that decision. Like, I'm fine with that. But at a time like this, where it's like, well, now like we're on the other side of the country and like I really can't access you, like you start to think about that and you start to, you know, for me at least, I start to like think about like the time, or reminisce about the times that we were able to be together and just be appreciative of that. And like also in that same space, being appreciative of whatever we can do to get together in this time. Excuse me. But like, I know like, I mean, even when I was in Arizona, I was like, I'm the kid that like will come over to my parents' house a lot. Like even when I wasn't living with them, I'd probably go over there like once a weekend. You'd probably be with me, probably especially my freshman year. But I think moving away, I don't talk to as many people as I used to. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't talk to my cousins like as much as I would do if we were in Arizona. Like, but I want to, and so I try to like remind myself like that you can call your grandmother, like you don't have to wait for her to call you, you know, and like I can still have those relationships. And so I think something that like I kind of took for granted was just how close in proximity I was with my family. And so now that I'm in a space where like I can't really even be around them, like the next time I am able to, it just means that much more. And like I want to like embrace that moment even more, I guess, or those moments even more.
Yeah.
What about you?
I feel like what do I take for granted? I mean, it's so funny because you don't realize you took something for granted until you don't have it anymore, right? Which is not rocket science, but because of the pandemic, in the beginning, I feel like I took for granted going places because I was always on the move. I was going to events, I was going over to people's houses, doing stuff on a weeknight. Ooh. I say that because, who does stuff on a weeknight when you work a 9 to 5 or 8 to 4 or whatever? But yeah. So now, I felt like I took that for granted, like being able to go places because I didn't stop to think that it's not going to be there one day. I didn't stop to think that while we can go places now, I choose not to, right? And there was a struggle at first not because I was going and doing stuff regardless of a pandemic. I did want to go, but I think that it slowly started to, I came to the realization that going places didn't really truly fulfill me, right? It was why I was going to places. And so now I had to find ways to fulfill myself. Whether it's I was always going to open mics. So how do I listen to poetry now? And, finding different ways and pivoting that way. So going places was definitely something that I took for granted, and I'm okay with it though. You know what I mean? I don't mind it because now leaving the house is truly not appealing anymore, and I'm not a homebody. Being a homebody, being home made me feel like, ugh, you know what I mean? Why am I sitting home? You know what I mean? Why don't I go and do something or whatever? And so now being home is something that I realized I took for granted because I never was home. It's all these epiphanies that brought me back to a circle. I took for granted going out because I was always staying home. I hated being home. And now that the world is trying to move forward and people are inviting you to things, now I'm I actually want to stay home now. I'm trying to be grateful for that. So, because I took that for granted, you know what I mean? Because in the beginning of the pandemic, I hated it. Mm-hmm. So now I'm switching gears and being no, I actually really fuck with this. I really like being at home and being able to take a nap if I don't have to work in the middle of the day. Shoot, don't invite me to go anywhere on a weekend. Nah, I'm not going nowhere. So all that to say, yeah, those are the things that I took for granted.
I love what you talked about when you said about pivoting using your why. Why was I doing these things? What was it that made me feel joy? And then figuring out how to still find that joy without having to actually go to that place or do that one thing. Because first of all, that's just dope. Because your happiness isn't decided on what's where you're at. It's decided on what's happening, the experience itself, whether that be what you're doing, what you're hearing, or who you're with, right? So I think that's dope. Figuring out it's really the emotion that you want, right? You want that feeling of oh, I like going there because it makes me feel good. What makes me feel good? Oh, listening to poetry. So how do I make myself feel that good when I don't have that outlet?
Right.
That's dope.
Thanks,
I can appreciate that.
I try sometimes.
I think it's really easy, every day, and I mean, I won't speak for everybody, but I feel personally for myself, I can say every day there's probably something that I'm taking for granted because I'm not thinking about all the little things again that are happening to make your world turn.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know. And so that makes me want to of course, spread more kindness. You mentioned in like one of our videos talking about like the mail people and how like, you know, you passed on like a basically like a note to like your mail carrier about how you didn't have, or you didn't put the right address. And like, you know what I'm saying? Like people, they could have made you, they could have told you like, you got to go through the postal office, like you got to go through step. So like appreciating like the little kind things that people, the human things, like appreciating humanity. Like just the little things, like the holding the door open, or like, you know, like social distancing. Appreciate that a lot. Like, you know, just respectful of other people and of humankind. Like just being thankful. Like Mo and I were driving earlier, and we were just talking about like all these quote unquote undesirable jobs that people have to do. You know, and people that are getting these services, they love it. Oh, I love getting my shoes shined, and I love getting, you know, all these things that like people assume are like lower tier jobs or whatever. But like, we really should appreciate those folks, because again, like they are the only reason you're able to have this level of, you know, of lifestyle that you have. And so like, it's weird for me when you see in society that there's like this hierarchical or like tier system of like, I want these things, but I don't want the people who do these things for me to feel good about themselves either. And like, I just wish it was like the reverse of like, show appreciation that like someone wants to do this and they're good at it. And, you know, this is what they're giving to humanity or the community.
Yeah. I think it's easy to forget that people are human, honestly. I think it's easy to be frustrated with somebody because they are acting like a human. You know what I mean? Like people aren't perfect. And I feel like that in a sense is also a way of practicing gratitude, realizing that we are all human and accepting people. And you don't have to accept them into your life and with open arms and like make them family, but you know, like accepting them in a sense of like saying, I noticed that you're upset and you're being human. You're behaving in a way that comes natural to you because of whatever. Mm-hmm. And that is you, and that's your prerogative. I don't have to force you to act a certain way or behave a certain way. I'm going to accept the fact that you're human and I'm human, and we may not see eye to eye. And I'm thankful for that, because we don't always have to see eye to eye. But and there's a line, right? You got to respect me, I'll respect you. Respect is the line, but at the same time, recognizing that humans are going to be human. And I think that you treat people with respect, you know? And I treat people with respect. I mean, I guess sometimes it backfires, but I'll treat them with respect, even if I don't respect them. Mm. I think that it shows your character more when you have the ability to offer respect to somebody who cannot offer you it back in return. And for me, I hold my character higher than I would say that I need somebody else's character to be on my same level, you know? So in a way, that practice is just being gracious in the sense of allowing people to be human and accepting that you're human and being grateful that you're human, because you could be a fucking roach. You know what I mean? You could have been born in this world as a fly that's flying around somebody's room about to get snatched up. You know what I mean? Like, be thankful for that, because there's a lot of, I hate roaches and I pay an exterminator to kill them motherfuckers. And you know what? I hope that never mind, I'm not going to go down that tangent, but just saying, you could be something else in this world. So be thankful that you're human and accept other humans and allow them to be human without making yourself feel like you need to change them, or you have to fix them, or you have to be the opposite, be in a competition, you know, all those kinds of things. Anyways, I think that we're kind of going down this road, so we can say that we don't really have a concrete cause this week. I think that given the sense that we're in the time of giving and being grateful and all that, we'd like to encourage you all to do some things in your life to show your gratitude?
Yeah. Well, one, like, we would love to hear what you're already doing. Like, if there are any good practices. Myself, like, I'm always looking for, this is self-improvement time. So I'm always looking for, like, ways that I can practice gratitude better, or, like, remind myself of, being grateful and things. And so, I mentioned, like, connecting with your family and, like, showing gratitude that way, and, like, things that you can do with your family, or, like, sending cards to your grandmother, or, like, one of my grandmother likes to text, so that's lit. So we actually text back and forth. And then another, like, my big mama, like, I send her pictures. So, like, I'm always mailing her pictures, not so much of myself because I'm only the grandchild, but of Amina. I'm always sending her pictures of Amina, and, but I like, cards are really sweet. Letters, calls and texts, video chats. Whether it's FaceTime or a big Zoom family chat, those are all things that, like, you can get together and just show. Like, for me, what I've learned with the elders in my family, it's like time, like, really just showing up and, like, being like, hey, I have a few minutes in my day, just wanted to call you and let you know I love you, I'm thinking about you. My grandmother and my big mom, they appreciate that a lot. And
yeah,
those are small things that I do just in my family, and that, like, other people can do in their family, just to, like, show some gratitude. And then grandma, it can be your cousin and your uncle, or, your godmom or whoever. Just spread some love.
Yeah, and I also would say there's so many benefits to, showing gratitude and practicing gratitude, because I feel like whenever I feel down and then I find a reason to be grateful for, not in a sense of trying to be positive all the time, but just checking myself, like checking my ego and checking, like, anger management or whatever the case may be. When I find myself getting irritated, I feel like there's so many benefits to showing it to other people, like, you don't have to talk to somebody every day, every month, or whatever, if you're family or friends, but you can still show them that you're thinking about them and things like that. And there's benefits to that as far as, like, maintaining a relationship. So I would say I'm going to encourage you all to do all these things and practice it, because it also is a grounding technique, so that you can make sure that at least at the end of the day, you did something kind for yourself or for somebody else. And that does nothing to harm anybody, right? Being kind should not harm. If you are doing it to harm, then you're doing it wrong.
Right.
So one of the things that I would just share, that I love to share with people, because it's, like, the easiest way to practice gratitude for myself, is if I find myself being, like, upset or irritated or whatever, I either think or write down 5 things that make me smile. It could be that day, it could be just in general. And then you write them, and then you start thinking about them, and then that is a mood changer. And it doesn't have to change your life. A mood change for me is a fucking win. So
that's real. Yeah, I definitely agree. Like, benefits of, showing gratitude or practicing gratitude really is, like, clarity and refocus. Like, clarity of, like, what do I have? Like, these are the things, not even focusing on what I don't have, but coming from the strength perspective. I'm breathing, what I'm saying? Like, I have a roof over my head. I have clothes on my body. These are things that, like, I tangibly have. Like, I have things. Like, that is something to be grateful for, period, And then, like, refocusing on, like, okay, but what's actually important? Like, yeah, I have all these things, but, like, my clothes don't have to be designer for them to help me, to clothe me. So, like, I'm grateful for that. I might not have a Birkin bag, but I have somewhere to put my keys when I have to go out of the house. You feel me? So, like, really focusing on, like, dang, I have so many things, and what is really important for me. And then it kind of helps you move forward. Like, okay, well, what do I even really need from here then? What do I need? What don't I need? What do I want? Because it's not bad to have wants. If you want that Birkin bag, great. But understanding that, like, you as a person, you're going to be solid without it or not. Which is, like, again, like, it's dope.
Yeah.
Like, dang, like, I'm good. Like, I'm breathing. I got somebody in the other room that likes me a little bit. I mean, enough to live with me, right? Like, and like I'm grateful for all these things. Like, I got food in the refrigerator. Like, these are things that, like, I have. And like not always pivoting it to like, I should be grateful I have this because someone else doesn't. It should just, I should be grateful I have this because I have it.
Yeah.
Regardless of what other people have or don't have, like I have this is what's mine, and I'm going to take care of it, and I'm going to be grateful for that. So,
yeah, that's real. And I think that this would lead to are things that we hope that you would take into consideration, regardless of what you do or don't have, but finding ways to share and show your gratitude in your community. Because, you know, you may not have a strong tie to your community, but it took a community to bring you where you are now. So maybe consider donating to an organization like the Boys and Girls Club. We love it. We're BGC for life. You know what I mean? We both worked at the Boys and Girls Club, love their grandkids. They do some amazing work, especially around the holidays. So you can consider them. There's the First Book program, and they provide new books and educational materials to emergency feeding spots and shelters. And also, we are taking on a challenge. We would like to give back to somebody. We haven't identified anybody, maybe more than one somebody. You know, I'm really big on holiday decorations and like making that's like a strong suit, like a staple to your home around the holidays. Having something to put up in your home, I feel like that makes it feel like home. Even if you're not even like at home, if somebody has a Christmas tree and I go into their house, look, we family. Like, you know what I mean? And if it's a good Christmas tree that is decorated to the T, shit, I might not leave.
I might want to sit and take a picture.
You know what I'm saying? So we're going to try and come up with a way to give back and share that joy with somebody, because we're so grateful to have those things in our lives. So we're hoping to spread that to others. So please stay tuned. We're going to have more details on how you can help us help others. And we will share that on the comments and the links on our Facebook. Wherever you see it, you will find it. I don't know if that makes sense. But anyways.
Wherever you find us, you will find it. I don't know.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
All right. Well, now we're coming to a close. So we got a quote that Sid's going to read this time around.
Yes, as always, we'll leave you with a quote. And this week's quote is, remember what you have now. I messed up too. Dang, I messed it up.
It's the words, man. It jumbles.
Okay. Remember what you have now was once among things that you only hoped for. Remember what you have now was once only amongst things that you once hoped for. Boom, just like that. I like that one.
Yeah, I can only not with my left hand, so.
Yes, but with that, you have, again, watched another episode of the Ari and Sid Show. Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to like, subscribe, follow, leave a comment, leave a review, and we'll be back next week.
See you later.